when I pulled onto that dusty road leading up to my place. All I wanted was a quiet evening, maybe a cold beer by the lake with Murphy, my old retriever, and the kind of peace that comes after a long week busting your back for land no one else gives a damn about. But what I got, I swear to God, looked like someone had detonated a wedding bomb right in the middle of my property and left the debris to rain down wherever it pleased. White tints stretching across my hayfield, luxury cars, and Teslas crammed together on my grass like some Silicon Valley swap meet. Fairy lights dangling from trees that had stood since Ulysses S. Grant was still breathing, and right there on my barn, my damn barn, a banner big as a billboard. Wedding of the year. Sunny Trails HOA. For a second I just sat there, mouth hanging open, thinking I'd wandered into the wrong timeline. But then I saw this little girl in a poofy dress tearing through my tomato patch, and I felt something snap all the way down in my bones. I slammed the brakes, dust billowing out behind me like a smoke signal, and stormed out of that truck, pushing past clusters of strangers, old ladies waving plastic wine glasses, a couple of caterers trying not to meet my eye, and made a beeline for the first kid I saw with a clipboard and a headset. He couldn't have been more than 20, looking like he was running logistics for NASA. "Excuse me," I barked, probably a little too loud. "What the hell is all this?" He glances up, all smooth confidence. "Oh, you must be Mr. Caldwell. We were told you approved this weeks ago." The HOA said it's all part of the shared green zone. Shared green zone. I nearly laughed in his face. This land has been mine since Teddy Roosevelt was still out there wrestling bears. Son, unless shared means me and my dog Murphy, you're in for a rude awakening. He starts to look nervous, stammering about the HOA, but I'd had enough. I marched straight for my barn, the air already thick with the sound of some DJ blasting music that was 3 decibels short of making my ears bleed, people laughing and drinking, some dude in a suit trying to make a toast. And I just headed right to the breaker box and flipped the main switch, killing the music and dropping the whole circus into shocked silence. "Everybody out," I yelled, louder than I meant to, but I didn't care. "This is private land, and you're trespassing." The bride, all white tulle and Instagram makeup, started shrieking about ruined memories, and I just shook my head. "Sweetheart, the only thing getting ruined today is your lawsuit." That got people moving, and I let them know if they weren't gone in 5 minutes, the sheriff would be escorting them out, maybe not as politely. And that's when she appeared, Karen Burrows, president of the Sunny Trails HOA, queen of the cul-de-sac, master of weaponized niceness and passive aggression so sharp you could cut steak with it. She stomped across the grass, mascara smudged, face burning with entitlement, champagne flute pointed at me like a saber. "You just destroyed a once-in-a-lifetime event," she shrieked. "We've been planning this for 6 months." I told her what I told the clipboard kid. "You don't get to use my land without so much as a knock on my door. We manage this land, Mr. Caldwell, and you clearly don't care. You've been gone 2 weeks." I laughed, and not kindly. "This isn't a timeshare. It's a 90-acre farm." She hissed something about lawyers. I told her they could come collect the trash on my lake shore while they were at it. She stomped away, almost tripping on her own ego. The next morning, still running on rage and not much sleep, I'm staring out at tire ruts, smashed grass, fairy lights sagging from the rafters, and Murphy sitting on the porch looking like he'd seen a ghost. That's when Karen pulls up in a Lexus, lawyer in tow, both of them dressed like they were about to close on a tech startup. She smiles that thin, cold smile and slides a folder across my table. "Easement agreement," she says, "signed by your grandfather. Grants community use of the pasture and barn." I look at the document, fancy notary stamp, flowing cursive, but I know my grandfather's signature, and this is not it. "Nice forgery," I tell her. The lawyer pipes up about mediation. Karen offers $25,000 to make this go away. I shove it back. "Keep your money. And keep your circus off my land." I took the papers straight to Grace, my grandfather's old notary, who barely looked at it before saying, "That's not Henry's handwriting, and it's not notarized by me. There was no record of it at the county. Fraud, plain and simple." We drafted a sworn statement, and I called my lawyer, Mike, who nearly did a backflip. That night, I pulled a little legal trick of my own, a counter easement granting only agricultural access, which I delivered to the HOA in the morning. Karen signed it without reading. Classic. Word spread. Neighbors called. Old friends dropped by. All of them just checking in. but I could hear the anxiety. Turns out, the HOA had done this before, promised tax breaks for access, pressured folks into signing things, lied to families who didn't know any better. I gathered statements from 11 property owners, all with similar stories. We were building a case, but the deeper I dug, the more it stank. Then I stumbled on the real twist. The wedding wasn't even real. The bride and groom were models, hired for a community harmony marketing campaign, meant to drum up support for the HOA by faking a picture-perfect event on stolen land. I collected everything, screenshots, agency credits, emails, invoices, and gave it to Mike. But I didn't stop there. I called in a favor from Eddie, a college buddy who worked for the IRS. Hey, just so you know, looks like the HOA's been running commercial events and not reporting a dime. He sent back a devil emoji, and 2 weeks later, the IRS rolled up to the HOA clubhouse in black sedans. By Sunday, 2 board members had resigned, and their accountant went dark. Neighbors started whispering, Facebook groups lit up with rumors, and Karen was spinning harder than a tumble dryer, pushing her own narrative, making me out as the villain. But then Rick Hammond, the HOA treasurer, showed up at my place at sunset, sweating bullets and carrying a folder full of original, annotated agreements, all forged, all in Karen's handwriting. She told me to backdate them, he said, and if I talk, she'll blame it all on me. I told him the only way out was to tell the truth. That night we filed for fraud, conspiracy, and property interference, now with a whistleblower on our side. Karen hit back, of course, flyers in every mailbox, Facebook posts calling me a hostile land baron, even a counterclaim accusing me of electrical sabotage for flipping my own breaker box. My lawyer laughed. She's grasping at straws. But public opinion is slippery, you know what I mean? Sometimes you have to fight dirt with dirt. I printed a quote from Rick's email, the one where Karen ordered, "Do not contact the owner," and posted it on every community board. By morning, it was all over social media. Rick resigned at the next HOA meeting, calling it a cover-up, and people clapped. The day of the hearing, I put on my grandfather's BOLO tie, not for luck, but because he taught me never to let anyone piss on your boots and call it due. The courtroom was packed, neighbors, reporters, even the fake bride. Mike laid out the evidence: forged easement, fake events, unreported revenue, IRS audits, whistleblower testimony. Grace, the notary, confirmed the forgery. The judge, sharp as a tack, asked Karen point blank, "Did you forge this signature?" Karen stumbled, blaming the previous board. The real nail in the coffin was my agricultural access agreement, signed and filed by Karen herself, legalizing what should have never been disputed. The judge called it an elegantly baited bear trap. In the end, the original easement was declared fraudulent. Karen was found liable for conspiracy and document forgery, ordered to pay nearly $1 million in damages, with the HOA forced to liquidate assets to pay restitution to other owners. The state picked up criminal charges. Outside, a reporter asked for my statement. I just said, "Don't mess with farmers. We grow consequences, too." 6 months on, the grass had grown back where the wedding tents once stood. The barn was repainted, doors reinforced, and right where the altar had been, I set a slab of stone, hand-carved. This land was never yours to rent. It was mine to protect. Underneath, I planted wildflowers, real ones. On the first Saturday of spring, we had a picnic, just neighbors, no speeches, no champagne towers, only ribs and laughter and kids by the lake. Murphy sat by my side, tail thumping, as the sun dipped behind the trees. I sipped sweet tea and cracked open my first author copy of Against the HOA, My Land, My Rules. It smelled like ink, freedom, and just a hint of vengeance. But you know, the thing about land and justice is that people always think they can twist the lines, redraw the boundaries, build something on top of you, and call it progress. But sooner or later, the truth grows up through the cracks, and all that's left is who stood their ground when it mattered. So tell me, was I right? Or was I just another stubborn old farmer standing in the way of community progress? I want to hear what you think. Was this justice, or just another neighborly feud gone nuclear? Drop your thoughts below, tell me where you stand, and if you ever find yourself up against a smiling HOA, remember, the grass isn't always greener on their side of the fence.